Breaking news this noon, just minutes ago, law enforcement in Iowa announced a police officer who was shot last night has died, and the man who police say killed him is now in custody here in Minnesota. The shooting happened in Algona around 8 o'clock last night. This is about 3 hours south of the Twin Cities. The suspect, Kyle Rickey, was found just before midnight, 2 hours north in Sleepy Eye, Minnesota. You can see there on the map. Law enforcement officials say Rickey had an active arrest warrant for harassment. Officer Kevin Cram found him last night, and while he was arresting him, police say Rickey shot Cram. Now, Rickey is charged with one count of first-degree murder, and during the press conference earlier, speakers choked up talking about Cram's character.
Algona police officer Kevin Graham died a hero. The Cram family have long been called to a life of public service in this community and have shown time and again that selfless dedication. Kevin embodied that and was an outstanding police officer here at the Algona Police Department, and in many ways was the bedrock of this department.
Officer Cram was just 33 years old and a 10-year veteran. An investigation is underway this afternoon after a fire at the Hastings Co-op Creamery. Fire crews spent over 9 hours on the scene. Our crews arrived shortly after the fire started, and at one point officials say flames were shooting out of the roof of the creamery and that heavy smoke lingered for hours this morning as hot spots continued to pop up. In the early morning hours, we confirmed that ammonia was leaking from that building. Nearby residents were asked to turn off their HVAC systems and close their windows. A hazmat team was eventually called to the scene.
That team did monitor all the surrounding neighborhoods for issues with air quality. Those were taken care of. However, the nearby residents did have some smoke in the area, but they did not have any release of hazardous materials that were in that area.
The fire chief says the creamery uses ammonia for its coolant systems, but that has been a problem for some residents. We're told at least 10 different agencies work to put out the fire. The Hastings fire chief tells us this building is heavily damaged now, especially the roof. But there is a piece of good news. We're told no one was hurt. In fact, emergency officials were quick to warn neighbors about the situation, thanks to this recording.
If odor is emitting into your residence, please evacuate to a safe location.
It got my attention. I know I live by the creamery, and they've had ammonia stuff problems before, so we're kind of aware of it. And as soon as the fire kind of broke out, I actually took note of which way the smoke was going.
It is a giant loss for the community. The iconic creamery was in business for 110 years before it closed just a few weeks ago. In June, the Metropolitan Council disconnected that creamery from the sewer after it dumped thousands of gallons of milk and cream into the system. When the creamery closed, the state was in the process of looking for someone to buy it. We'll be following this developing story throughout the day. You can stay with KARE 11 all day for updates on the fire, both on air and online. A 28-year-old man could face second-degree murder charges in the death of his younger brother. Eden Prairie police say they were called to a home on Lee Drive Tuesday night for a man who was in crisis. That's where officers say they found a 7-year-old who was unresponsive. That child died at the hospital, and his brother was arrested. Charges are now filed after a St. Catharines student says she was held captive and abused in her dorm room for days. A criminal complaint shows Keno Labette of Granite Falls, the victim's then boyfriend, is facing 5 felony charges ranging from waterboarding to rape. If convicted, he could spend nearly 100 years in prison. Sexual assault on college campuses is something experts say is common, and they tell us a key step in preventing sexual and domestic violence is being able to recognize signs of an unhealthy relationship.
Are they isolating you from your family and friends? Are they putting you in situations that make you feel uncomfortable and unsafe? I think those are some of the biggest red flags.
The victim's father tells us he's disappointed with how St. Catherine University handled the situation and wants to learn more about security in dorm rooms. We asked St. Kate's officials about that specifically. They said they could not comment because of the ongoing investigation. State lawmakers are now getting involved in an ongoing housing battle at the U of M. Students testified last night in a special meeting focused on the Identity Dinkytown complex. The building's still not ready for tenants, but they had told students they would be able to move in nearly 3 weeks ago. A lawsuit has been filed against that company that is still collecting first month's rent. Builders were invited to the meeting last night, but declined. Well, check out this video caught on Highway 36 in Ramsey County. It happened yesterday afternoon when police attempted to stop that white car you see there. Keep an eye on it as it swerves, obviously, through traffic, through the median there. Troopers say they originally tried to pull the car over for driving erratically. At one point, the driver crashes into another car. That's when police were able to catch them. Officers say they do believe that driver was impaired. Well, now to a big national story that is coming to a major turning point in less than 12 hours. At midnight, car makers face a deadline that will determine if thousands of auto workers show up to work tomorrow or begin a strike. NBC's Jay Gray shows us where they stand right now.
Well, all quiet right now outside of UAW headquarters, a place they call Solidarity House here in Detroit. The clock continuing to tick toward a midnight deadline with apparently no real progress in contract negotiations between the United Autos Workers Union and the big three automakers.
We're still very far apart on our key priorities, from job security to ending tiers, from cost of living allowance to wage increases. We do not yet have offers on the table that reflect the sacrifice and contributions our members have made to these companies. To win, we're likely going to have to take action.
The union seeking a 46% pay raise over the next 4 years, a 32-hour work week with 40 hours of pay, and improvement to employee pension programs. Ford, GM, and Stellantis have made counteroffers, Ford offering as much as a 20% salary jump, but the manufacturers say there's been no response from the UAW. If there is no agreement, this would be the first time UAW members walk out on all three automakers at the same time. And analysts say a 10-day work stoppage at all three automakers could have a $10 billion impact on the economy. That's the latest from here in Detroit. I'm Jay Gray. Back to you now.
Today, President Biden will announce what he calls the next chapter of Bidenomics. We're expecting more details as he delivers a speech in Maryland. What we do know is the White House says it will specifically contrast some budget cuts proposed by House Republicans. The new announcement comes after a poll from last week showed 58% of Americans felt Biden's economic policies were not working. Right now, there is a tropical storm warning on the island of Bermuda in anticipation of Hurricane Lee passing by today. At the same time, hurricane and tropical storm watches are in effect. Hurricane and tropical storm watches are in effect along the northeast coast. The National Hurricane Center reports the storm brings a potential for life-threatening storm surge flooding this weekend. Preparations are happening now in New England communities. Some homeowners started boarding up their windows and doors. Others are concerned with the ongoing erosion to the shores from these major storms.
You get to the point where you question, like, how much more can it take?
Right now, models show the storm is expected to hit the Northeast overnight Saturday into Sunday. Well, summer temperatures not over just yet. Ben's in the backyard where it's apparently starting to warm up out there.
Yeah, another cool start to the day, Rena. But yeah, temperatures are soaring with a southerly breeze about 10 to 15 miles per hour. And temperatures today have a good chance of reaching into the lower 80s across much of the state. In the meantime, we're tracking a cold front, which is going to halt our warming trend to just one real warm day, we'll say. And you can see some rain falling from Fargo up just west of Bemidji and Lake of the Woods. That's a frontal system which will sag through the rest of the state during the day today. That front probably not reaching us here in the metro until well after dark, maybe midnight into the early hours of Friday morning. That's when we are expecting some showers and maybe a few garden variety thunderstorms. Right now it's 73 degrees, low humidity, a little breezy, and again temperatures will take us into the low 80s by this afternoon. We're going to track that rain chance, talk about the thunderstorm potential and what it leaves for your weekend forecast, Rena. That's coming up in a couple minutes.
All right, thank you, Ben.